Hey everyone, welcome back to another week of the Cyber Unfiltered call. Bob, we got Chris, and we got Matt. And
Hey.
and last week we kind of we ended the call saying we were going to talk about SASE. I'm not sure if we really mentioned what SASE was, but that's where we are, and that's not an Australian cattle dog.
All of
So-
my daughters are very sassy.
And yeah, and to Bob's point, my dog is an Australian cattle dog, and he's
Different
very
kind of
sassy. He's very sassy. So
Okay.
food time
Maybe
is
someone
sassy
should
time.
define what sassy we're talking about.
Oh, well, I mean, we're talking about a secure
So-
access service edge.
That would
What
be
is-
it.
now
That
what-
would be the
now what-
SASE we're talking about today.
Now, what does that mean?
What's that?
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. Well, last week we were talking about VPNs, the traditional legacy way of accessing your network from remote, right? And SASE is a replacement for that. Let's think of an analogy here. Let's say you want to connect to your home. Like you're in your house, that's your network, and you want to connect to your network at home. You can use a VPN to do that. You could be someplace else. You can connect to it just the same way as you connect to your office. But now let's look at a business case. You have your office and you have people VPNing in, but how many tools and software apps do you use that aren't in your office anymore? They're in the cloud, right? Or if you have
Most
multiple
of 'em.
locations, yeah, most of them, right? What if you have multiple locations? Okay, so the perimeter, which would normally be your office or your home, is now been expanded way outside of that. So SASE gives us an opportunity to say, hey, if we put everybody on this, our network is everywhere. It doesn't have to just be in our office. We can be connected to it everywhere and increase our security at the same time. Because
Done right.
Nobody-
Security is at its core. Unlike VPN, which is just like think of VPN like a wire. I mean, you can do anything with it, but it's point A to point B. And SASE is a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Like a sassy cattle dog. Sorry, Chris.
you know how I think another way to describe this might be smart badges, right? You know how you go to get into your office and you got to have a badge. You got to swipe in.
Sure.
SASE would kind of be like that, because unless you have that piece of software on your device, you're not connecting. Nobody can just get to that network. You have to identify yourself. I'm trying.
That's one of the great things on the SASE side. Like you said, you can identify yourself. You can effectively take that requirement to log into any of your cloud applications, so that the bad guys can't even get to the login prompt anymore. If they get to the login prompt, they can't log in as one of the accounts from your environment, and that's one way that we can secure the bad guys.
Yeah, and it could be email. It could be a lot of cloud applications support that. You could say, I have to it's conditional access. You have an IP address. If your SASE supports like a static IP address, you could say, to Bob's point, only connections coming from this IP address are allowed in. And then everybody is connected internally on the SASE product and they use that static IP, they can get in. If they're not, they can't. Which, in the way that phishing is happening today, I just talked to a co-managed customer yesterday about this. They had an email business email compromise, and it looks like somebody clicked on a phishing link, got presented with what looked like a Microsoft login page, went through, logged in, submitted their multi-factor authentication. The bad guy stole the token and started logging in, and then
Thank you very much.
proceeded to send out a bunch of emails. With SASE, if you had conditional access, it wouldn't. One, they couldn't even log in on that page because that page is being hosted on another server. It's not actually the Microsoft page. It is the Microsoft page, but it's being proxied through another server. That wouldn't work. That login wouldn't even work. So the bad guys couldn't even steal that token.
So let's just clear that up, Chris. Even if they had good credentials and a good MFA token, because of SASE setup, it wouldn't work.
Yep. As long as you have that set up correctly, where you're applying conditional access rules that says you have to be coming from this network, they could have everything right and they still couldn't log in. Now, there are some caveats to that. You have mobile phones. Do you put mobile phones in SASE? Because it will decrease your battery life.
Yep.
The thing that nobody wants to talk about, it will decrease it because it's encrypting your connection. It requires cycles, CPU cycles like everything else. And when you're on battery all the time, that can cause problems. But the beautiful thing about conditional access is you can choose what is forced. So you could say, if let's use Microsoft for instance, because that's, I think most of us use Microsoft more often than not, right? Not necessarily Google, but for like 365, right? You're going to use Outlook, or you can use Outlook web access, right? You could say those two applications have to go through SASE, but you could also enforce that everybody has to use the Outlook mobile client, and you could potentially say, okay, the Outlook mobile client can actually come from any network. Not that you would do that, but if you're doing risk management, you could say that could be an option so that people can still get email on their phones without that requirement. Or you could just say, you know what, period, it doesn't matter. You have to be on SASE to get email, period. And also that would protect you against people just logging in from non-work devices, right? So there's a lot of options there with protection.
Yeah, and that's where it's got to be a comprehensive discussion, a comprehensive security plan, because everyone logging in for mobile might be fine for some places, right? For others, it might be, they should only be able to hit Outlook, nothing else, unless they're coming in through SASE.
And you don't get that with a traditional VPN. That's not possible. A VPN is just getting you into a network. In our case, it's probably just getting your business network. And if you don't set that up right, people can, once they get access into that network, they could have access to everything, and they might just be able to use it.
It's just like being plugged in at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So being wired in.
One of the things that I like to stress with people when we're talking SASE is, you might, in the past, we used to spend a lot of money and put really high-end firewalls in the office environment. It did a great job, it protected everything. But now with people showing up in Starbucks, people showing up at home, people kids machines, we had to that whole firewall scenario needed to be changed, and SASE allows us to push that all the way down to that edge device, so that it's just protected. But do we still need those firewalls in the office?
Well, and that's where we go back to the perimeter where you're talking about, right? Like if you're in the network, you're behind the firewall, so you're protected. But the second you go to the coffee shop or go home, you're not behind the firewall anymore. Right. So that's to Bob's point. Now you could simulate that a little bit with the VPN. You could force them back in and go out the internet connection at the office. But I don't know how many of you guys have cable modem providers too. Let's just talk performance wise. How many of you have customers that have cable modems where the upload speed is not fast?
We're kind of lucky in New Jersey. Most of the cable modems here are all symmetric, and the dream. Well, I don't. So most of the people around here that have cable modems are limited to like 30 megabits up. So if you force them to go back through the network, like back through your firewall, like the internet would be unusable. Yeah. It'd be like a 4-lane highway down to half a lane, and you'd be trying to pummel all of your remote users through that. It just doesn't work.
Yeah,
it's terrible. So SASE gets around that limitation. Also, honestly, you could do, I don't want to get into zero trust right now because it's a buzzword, but you can force people to authenticate too. So even though they have the device with the SASE product on there, and this could be, we all use a different product. There's multiple products out there. We're not here to pump a product up, but if you can get in, you can also force them to authenticate with a username and password as well. So even if somebody get access to the device, maybe you're forcing them to authenticate to get to certain things. Maybe you have a server that runs HR, or an application that runs HR, has HR information or financial information. Maybe you only want 3 people in your company to have access to that. You could apply a rule in SASE that says, even though they're on the SASE network, only the people that can authenticate that fit this group, these 3 people, can actually get to this application. Perfectly. It's something that we can do. Yeah, that we can't do with a traditional network. So this is really like futuristic stuff for a lot of people. I don't see it. I haven't seen it really deployed as much in like small and medium enterprises as we're doing it, and we like you guys and us. And yeah, I think to your point, you could buy cheaper firewalls because you're pushing all that network traffic through there that you can do a lot more security without spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on hardware firewalls that actually don't provide as much protection as you think.
Yep.
And the other thing is that we're removing that single point of failure that these businesses are having by setting up their own little private VPN, because if that office goes away, nobody can work. And the fact that we're running, the SASE is all cloud-based at this point. It's, multiple redundant data centers that we would never be able to build. Customers wouldn't even be able to afford that environment if they had to build it themselves.
Yeah. So I think the way that we talk about this from a business standpoint. So let's say you're a business and you want to implement this. Something that we said excited you about making sure that you're more secure. You want to do specific things. Let's say you want to limit who can access your email. I look at this as like a 3-phase approach, right? Phase 1 would be, let's just pick one application to kind of implement this on. Phase 2, you maybe, and then we'll deploy it, and then you test it, make sure it's good. We could do this. We don't have to do this for everybody in the company. Maybe you want to just try it out with a couple people. 100% possible.
Sure.
Once you get that rolled out, phase 2, then now you expand it to more apps. And maybe you enforce some different checks, but not every app will support this. Be aware of that. So the vendors you pick are going to matter. We know that Microsoft and Google can support this, so we're good. Not every vendor can support that, but the ones that can, we should definitely do that. And then once you get through that, phase 3 might be reassessing what applications you use. Maybe you want to enforce this for a lot of things. You want to have these IP restrictions, or at that point, you just retire your traditional VPN access. You say, you know what, this is no longer needed, and boom, you're cut over. And now you're a much more agile company. You can expand quicker, right? You can roll out a new office in very minimal time, especially as you start moving more and more workloads to the cloud, or to maybe like hosted a data center of some sort. But that's how I'd approach it from a business standpoint. I would just pick one app, one critical app that you need.
Well, you have to be methodical about it, because if you try and do everything, the project's just going to fail. But
and it's not all or nothing. I like that. Start somewhere, do something.
Yeah, and to be fair, email's probably your single biggest security risk in your business at this point. So it's a really good one to move. And also, when you do this, there will be one account that does not have this applied. That's called a break glass account. We want to make sure that we can get in just in case something happens to the vendor. Not that that's common.
Someone could have locked himself out once or twice.
Not that that's common.
It's happened.
but it's possible, and it can happen. So there's a good architecture around that. Yeah, start with one app, try it. We'd love it. We've implemented it for a majority of our customers, and they love it. They can go anywhere in the world, be safe. They can go to any coffee shop. They can be safe, and we've made their email just safer by leveraging it.
So why don't we just close this out and tell people if they, if you want to learn more about SASE, talk about SASE for your environment, just DM any of us the word SASE, SASE, and we'll reach out, have a little conversation, and go from there.
And I'll take a video of my dog Riley and being SASE, and I'll send it back to you.
Cool. Well, I'll catch you guys next week, and we'll go.
It's good.